Hi, welcome to This Country Called Agriculture. I'm your host, Rob Eirich. On today's show, we're going to talk to an organization that's addressing change in agriculture. And I have Wendy Schneider from Green Hectares with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about how Green Hectares has been established and how your organization helps, I guess, the rural community connect with the resources that are out there. So thanks for coming on today, Wendy.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us about Green Hectares. Why it exists? Why was it formed, and what's some background in it?
Well, we were looking at the exodus of, in particular, youth that were leaving rural areas, agriculture in particular, and we put together some focus groups around Alberta, although they included some young people, and by young people I'm talking 18 to 30 years of age, and asked them why they were leaving, and if there was a reason or an opportunity for them to come back, would they? 100% of them said that they would absolutely come back if they had an opportunity. What they felt like they needed to leave is that they didn't have enough possibilities and opportunities to continue generational after generational business.
Now, this has been a pretty serious problem. If you look at the census numbers from 2001 and 2006, that group of under 25 rural youth has shrunk by 50% each of those years, and we expect this next census number to be about the same or worse.
Yeah. Well, what we realize is it's not just a Canada or Alberta problem. It's actually a world problem. It's the same in every country in the world. So when we asked them why they were leaving, they told us they wanted a sustainable business to grow their families, and if they had an opportunity to come back, 100% said that they would come back. They had some ideas on some of the things that we could use for an organization on how to be able to change their world, and a lot of it was based in technology for business. So not production technology, because we're first adopters in production technology, but in business technology. And a lot of that had to do with information that they could get online, and some of the transfer of knowledge from the older generation to the younger, but the younger back to the older as well.
So really bridging the gap between being the early adopters, like how you put that with production economics and production technology, now to pull the rest of the business suite of software in there, and the communications and the marketing piece to really to push that agribusiness ahead, isn't it? Okay. Now, Green Hectare started, what, about 5 years ago?
Yeah, it was about 5 years ago. So it was started and developed as a not-for-profit that has a young board of directors, that still has a young board of directors. I believe all of them are, they haven't hit 30 yet, for sure. They also knew that they didn't know everything. So they put together an advisory council based on people who had more experience than they had. And that advisory council, when they go to them, give them experience, they give them connections, they give them networks, and they give them some solutions to some of the problems that they see need to be addressed in rural areas.
So definitely been focusing on the youth demographic, but this has also morphed into helping rural communities as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. So what they realized is that they can't stand alone, and they don't stand alone. So that in rural communities, as rural businesses are, if the rural businesses are struggling or the rural areas are struggling, therefore they will struggle. So that they thought they needed to look at the whole picture, so rural economies, rural businesses, which they're in agriculture included in that.
Absolutely. Good, a very good connection there. Now, you have a number of programs, and we're going to be talking about some of them today. One is the Community Connector, another one is the Entrepreneur Exchange, and then we have the Hopper, which is actually some IT search engine materials, an application for agriculture, we could call it. We're going to have a look at that today as well. But before we get into that, I just wanted to address that this is an organization that started in Alberta, is that correct?
Yes.
And I know we've talked before about this, but you have a Canada-wide and also a North American-wide perspective, and I believe also a global perspective on some of the resource and programs that you're putting together on this. Tell us a little bit more about that. Okay,
so some of where we started at actually was about 4 years ago, understanding that each generation needed to catch up with each generation. So as the young people in agriculture understood that they needed some knowledge and that the older generation had, they also had some knowledge that the older generation needed. And we started with broadband putting together some programs for people my age and older to actually get online. So there was 18 programs developed for that. As simple as, how do I turn on my computer and search the net? How do I use Twitter? How do I use Facebook? What can I do? And we ended up doing about 240 classes all over Alberta, but we were actually asked for over 800 at that time. So we knew that we needed to actually be able to take the information and keep expanding out and keep building up. Based on that project and those programs, we ended up developing the Community Connector from the information that we got. So the Community Connector is a project that you're able to actually have a facilitator in a certain geographic area to be able to look at the resources that are sitting in that area and the resources that are around them that may not be in that area. We also have an online Community Connector, so that if you didn't actually have a facilitator in your area, you could actually go online and actually get some information based on the information that they're gathering.
So some applications that weren't available in the rural area as well. You mentioned bandwidth for one thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned the training. So we have a lot of regions around the world where that's still very much a problem.
Yeah.
So how do you see that being addressed with what you're doing here?
Well, our facilitators that we train in the Trinity of Management. So the Trinity of Management is very basic information that everybody knows they need, but it's actually how do you sometimes get that management information into your business. So the Trinity of Management is based on that in a business that will likely stay successful, you'll have a finance person, you'll have a product and service person, and you'll have a marketing and communications person. For one person, especially in a rural area where you don't have all of the IT a position available, or you may not have, you may understand actually finances, but actually how to forecast finances, etc. So they're trained in that, and then they go into an area, whether it's online or whether it's geographically stationary, and they will look at all of the resources in that area, but they'll also develop a resource board. So the resource board is built of communities or communities of interest if it's online. And it's to be able to go to people and actually say, this entrepreneur is struggling, what can they have?
Fantastic. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Community Connector right after this message.